fetched his suitcase and put the small jar into it. Why bother to take a great big suitcase when you've only got one jar? Sophie said. You could put the jar in your pocket. Sophie looked down at her and smiled. By goggles, he said, taking the jar out of the suitcase. Your head is not quite so full of grime sludge after all. I can see you was not born last week. We usually say born yesterday, but good enough. Thank you, kind sir, Sophie said, making a little curtsy from the tabletop. Is you ready to leave? I'm ready, Sophie cried. Her heart was beginning to thump at the thought of what they were about to do. It really was a wild and crazy thing. Perhaps they would both be thrown into prison. The BFG was putting on his great black cloak. He tucked the jar into a pocket in his cloak. He picked up his long trumpet-like dream blower. Then he turned and looked at Sophie, who was still on the tabletop. The dream bottle is in my pocket, he said. Is you going to sit in there with it during the travel? Never, cried Sophie. I refuse to sit next to that beastly thing. Then where is you going to sit? The BFG asked her. Sophie looked him over for a few minutes. Then she said, if you will be kind enough to swivel one of your lovely big ears so that it has lying flat like a dish, that would make a very cozy place for me to sit. By gumbo, that is a squackling good idea, the BFG said. Slowly, he swiveled his huge right ear until it was like a great shelf facing the heavens. He lifted Sophie up and placed her inside it. The ear itself, which was about the size of a large tea tray, was full of the same channels and crinkles as a human ear. It was extremely comfortable. I'm actually putting my finger in my ear right now to kind of imagine where she is. I think I've got a spot in my ear. You should do the same. Where, if you're going to sit in a giant ear, what part of your ear would you want to go in? I hope I don't fall down your ear hole. Me too, Sophie said, edging away from the large hole just beside her. Be very careful not to do that, the BFG said. You would be giving me a cronking earache. The nice thing about being there was that she could whisper directly into his ear. It was tickling me a bit, the BFG said. Please do not jiggle about. I'll try not to, the BFG said. Are we ready? Owie! Yelled the BFG. Don't do that! I didn't do anything, Sophie said. You was talking too loud. You was forgetting that I is hearing every little thing-a-ling-a-ling 50 times louder than usual, and there you was shouting away right inside my ear. Oh, gosh, Sophie murmured. I forgot that. Your voice is sounding like thunder and trumpets. I'm sorry, Sophie whispered. Is that better? No, cried the BFG. You sound as though you was shooting off a blunderbuss. There's actually a type of old gun called a blunderbuss. Again, so clever. Blunderbuss. Then how can I talk to you? Sophie whispered. Don't, cried the poor BFG. Please don't. Each word is like you was dropping buzz bombs in my ear hole. Sophie tried speaking right under her breath. Is this better? She said. She spoke so softly she couldn't even hear her own voice. That's better, the BFG said. Now I is hearing you very nicely. What is it you was trying to say to me just now? I was saying, are we ready? We is off, cried the BFG, heading for the cave entrance. We is off to meet her Majester the Queen. By the way, her Majesty, but I do just think about something. Majesty doesn't have an ER, it has a Y at the end. But then a jester, if you think about it, is, a court jester, the clown in the court. If he calls the queen the Majester, again, Roald Dahl, brilliant. Outside the cave, he rolled a large round stone back into place and set off at a tremendous gallop.